Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome if you're new here. If you are new, my name is Shan from HomeWithShan over on Instagram, and in today's video we're going to be doing a Q&A. All of your questions that you asked me basically like the first week that I came home with George after birth and after labour, and obviously after the first week of having him with us and stuff, and you asked me loads of questions on Instagram, so I compiled all the most common questions, and yeah, this is going to be me answering them. The reason that he is here and not in his crib is because he just had like a crying fit because he wanted to be held. So I've popped him in this sling that is actually a lifesaver because I wouldn't be able to film this video if it wasn't for this sling. That's literally my first tip for you guys if you are pregnant, or if you've got a newborn and you can't like handle, or if you can't like handle sitting still and like cuddling them all the time, which is amazing, but you need to crack on and do some stuff like I like to try and do. Get a sling, 100%. This is the free rider sling that was actually gifted to me for a collaboration over on Instagram, but any sling would do, or even just a baby carrier. Like, yeah, it would be perfect because I couldn't do this video if it wasn't for this sling. But anyway, yeah, so let's get into the video. I'm gonna like lay back a bit, get comfy, grab your teas guys, grab your coffees, whatever you want, and yeah, just listen to me answering your questions. Okay, so I've got all of your questions up on the screen here, and I'm just going to go through them all, just basically answering the most common questions. I literally look like such a slob, but you know what, we're all friends here guys. You guys always say like, I like how real you are and stuff. This is real. Me slouching on my bed, cuddling the baby, answering the questions. I've got a lot of questions here about how my labour was and asking for my labour and birth story. So if you haven't seen the video that I posted Wednesday, it went live. So go and watch that video if you haven't already. It's all about my birth story. It's a really positive one, especially because it was an induction. I was really nervous about it, but actually it was really, really positive. So I urge you to go and watch that if you haven't already. So let's get on to the first question that I actually haven't answered already. So one of the most common questions was, has George got a middle name? And he does. George's middle name is Richard. So it's George Richard Robinson. George is his granddad's name, sorry, his great-granddad's name. So it's my granddad's name, his great-granddad's name. And Richard is his granddad's name on Ash's side. So Ash's dad is called Richard. Hence George Richard Robinson. So yeah, that is his middle name. Well, this is a really good question. Top 3 newborn tips you wish you had known before having George. So I watched like loads and loads of videos about newborn tips and hacks and loads of that kind of thing on YouTube, but I'd say my top 3. Number 1, I would say about, this is for bottle fed babies, is I learnt about paced feeding, and basically that's when you have them upright, rather than like cradling them like that and giving them the bottle this way, have them sat up. Like, obviously it's quite hard when they can't hold their head up and stuff, so it is a little bit tricky, but get used to it pretty quickly, and you basically have them sat up like this and you feed them at a pace, so it's basically at their own pace, so they have to suck the bottle rather than it just falling into their mouth, and it kind of simulates what they would have to do for breastfeeding. So he has to suck it, and if he takes a break, you kind of tip the bottle down, give him a little breather, and then tip it back up, and it basically helps with the winding process and burping and him not taking down so much air. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then ask your midwife about it, because genuinely when they explained it to me, and it made such a difference with him feeding. He's so much more comfortable now, and he doesn't have as much wind and trapped air and that kind of thing, so that was really good. That was definitely my first tip. My second tip would be when changing his nappy, I always basically have like another nappy underneath, like ready, have that underneath opened up, take his other nappy off, obviously wipe it all clean and everything. This is just for like wheeze obviously. Get rid of that nappy, and then when I'm doing his new fresh nappy up, because he's a boy, I always point his willy down so that it doesn't like poke up and spray everywhere, but I also ensure that the frilly bits around the nappy, around his legs, are untucked, so that if he does wee, it's not going to leak, and if it's pointing down, then it's not going to go up the top either, because obviously he was a really small baby. At first his nappies were way too big for him, and his wee was just going everywhere and leaking all the time. So yeah, that was my trick in terms of changing nappies. that's probably a really obvious one, but I just didn't know, obviously, before. My tip number 3 would probably be get them used to sounds and loud noises and normal everyday hustle and bustle noises from the get-go, because if they get used to sleeping and it's like dead silent, as soon as they hear a noise they'll literally get startled and wake themselves up. So if you have them napping like in the room with you and you're like doing other things like having the washing going, having a conversation, having music playing, whatever you would normally be doing, we did that and he just sleeps so well for it. Like the dog will go ballistic and bark at the postman and he'll be fast asleep still. So I don't know whether that's just because he's a good sleeper or that's what all babies are like, but I feel like it helped us. So yeah, that would be my tip, is to carry on getting them used to noises and stuff even when they're napping, so that they don't startle themselves and wake themselves up when they're older. Again, I don't know if that's actually true, but it seems to work for us, so yeah. The next question I've got here is, I'm a new mum too and I wondered how you are finding night feeds with your little one. And I've got to be honest, our night feeds are really, really good. At first we didn't really know how much he should be eating, how much we should be feeding him, and it was a bit of a whirlwind, but basically you just kind of find your feet with it. I don't know, that's really not helpful because he was so tiny. At first he was on 2 ounces, which was like nothing. He's on 2 ounces per feed, and he had a feed like every 3 to 4 hours, and that was the same throughout the night. He would just basically, actually no, we would wake up, we did our alarms so that we did every 3 hours we put an alarm on so that we woke him up, just in case he wasn't, like he didn't know to wake himself, he didn't know he's hungry or something, because he was quite lethargic, I'd say, when he was first born. I don't know if that's really common, but for the first like couple of days to a week he was really lethargic, so we'd have to like wake him up for feeds, and then it kind of got to that week 2 and he was waking himself up for feeds every 4 hours. Same for week 3, and then we basically just upped his bottle every time we fed him. We basically just took note of what he was drinking. If he was draining the bottle, so when it was 2 ounces he was draining the bottle, we moved up to 3 ounces. When he was draining the bottle and it was 3 ounces, moved up to 4, and now we've actually moved up to 5 ounces. And he's definitely not draining the bottle there, but he's having about 4.5 ounces every feed at the moment, and he's 4 weeks old now. So I feel like he's definitely like taking more food. He's definitely grown, which is amazing. He's actually out of his newborn baby grows already. The newborn baby grows go up to 7.5 pounds, and he is not in those anymore. He could still fit in them, but they don't look very comfortable, so I kind of just thought, right, let's get you up into the next size, which is first size, or at least the ones that I've got are called first size, and they go up to 10 pounds or 10.5 pounds. So they're the ones that he's in at the moment. So yeah, feeding is going really well. That's not just like night feeds, that's every feed. Yeah, so every 4 hours. We normally do 7 in the morning, 11 in the morning, 3 p.m, 7 p.m, 11 p.m. So yeah, it's like 3, 7, 11, 3, 7, 11 every day pretty much, and that works for us so far anyway, touch wood. That's working for us really well, and yeah, I'm really enjoying the fact that we've got into a little routine. What I'll tend to do is I'll go to sleep a little bit earlier. Ash will do the 11 o'clock feed, and then I'll do the 3 o'clock and the 7 o'clock feed, because obviously Ash got to go to work. So yeah, that seems to work really, really well for us, and it means that we both get quite a lot of sleep. Even I get quite a lot of sleep, because if I go to sleep at like 10 o'clock, I don't have to wake up until 3. I'm up for an hour with him, and then I go back to sleep and I'm up at 7. And then sometimes I go back to sleep after that, but sometimes I'll just get up anyway. But yeah, no, it's going really, really well. One other thing I wanted to talk about feeding was, we use this app called Baby Tracker, and it's basically something you can log every single thing on. I'll put a thing on the screen here. It's basically you can log everything on. You can log his food, how much he eats at every feed, what time he's feeding, what his nappies are like. So if he's having like 6 or 7 wet nappies a day, 2 dirty ones, that's good. If he's having less than that, then we obviously know there's something wrong. How much he's sleeping, when he goes to sleep, when he wakes up, all that kind of thing. And I really like this app because you can link it between your phone and other phones, other devices. So if Ash did something, like he changed his nappy and he had a poo, then he would be able to log that on the app, and then I would know that he had a poo last time he went, so not to worry if he doesn't poo for the rest of the day, kind of thing. So the same with food, knowing how much he's ate and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I really, really like this app. But yeah, I definitely recommend an app like this. It doesn't have to be this one, but this one's free, so I really, really like that. I've got another question here saying, now that you've had your baby, would you ever consider having another? And I would definitely say, basically, I had a really positive birth. I was really lucky, and I would do labour again, and like it was painful, don't get me wrong, but the payoff is so worth it, like unbelievably worth it. The only thing I would say is I really didn't like pregnancy. I didn't enjoy it at all, and that might be weird considering like I was videoing it all the time and putting videos up and posting on Instagram and that kind of thing, but I really didn't enjoy pregnancy at all, so I don't know whether I'd want to put myself through that again, but never say never. Got another question here saying, did you use your harvested colostrum for George when he was born? If so, when and how? So we did use our colostrum that I harvested. I harvested quite a lot of it. I was quite lucky, I had quite a good supply. So I used that. That was his first feed. So we were still in the delivery room. We gave him some food, like got him all dressed and stuff. Gave him some food, so we gave him, I can't even remember how many, like quite a few mil of the colostrum from the syringe, which he said he seemed to really enjoy. And then I gave him some the following morning as well. Basically, yeah, it was like Ash brought it from, so it was frozen in the freezer obviously before, and then I called Ash, he brought it, and then we just waited for it to heat up to room temperature and then fed it to George. And that was probably, I'd say, maybe 2 or 3 hours after he was born, roughly. And then again in the morning, which was probably about, so he was born at 2:48, and then at probably like 7 o'clock in the morning we gave him some more. So yeah, that was the colostrum. That was all of the colostrum that I took to hospital, but we've actually still got some in the freezer down here, just in case he ever gets poorly or something like that. It's supposed to be really, like, supposed to work miracles for that kind of thing. So hopefully he won't ever need it, but if he does, we've got that in the freezer all stashed up. I've got loads of questions on here asking if I'm going to do 2 videos in particular, and they are the newborn baby must-haves video, which I've seen so many of, and I'm more than happy to do a video like that if you guys want me to. And then also the second video that I've had like highly requested on here is the what I actually use for my hospital bag video. So obviously I did my hospital bag like packing video, and then basically a video to say what I actually used. I will do that video, but I would say pretty much used everything other than all the nice things that I packed basically, so like the eye mask and just a few things that you just do not have time for at all, and it was ridiculous of me to think that I would have time to do that, but that was probably because I had a really fast labour. What if you had a really long, really painful labour, and you need that kind of stuff? So I will do it, I will do the video if you want me to do it, guys, but every labour is different, every birth is different, like you can't prepare for it in the way, like yours is not going to be the same as mine, and mine would never be the same as yours kind of thing. So I would just like err on the side of caution. If you pack exactly what I packed and you end up needing loads of extra stuff, that it's just because that's the way it's supposed to be for you. So yeah, I will do that video, but I just wanted to have that little disclaimer that every single experience is different, and what you're going to need is going to be totally different as well. The next question on here is, was there anything you didn't buy and wish you had? My baby is due in February. So the main thing that we hadn't bought, and I can't believe I forgot it off my list, and basically I've got videos on here of every single thing that I bought for baby George, and we've used loads and loads and loads of that stuff, and there was nothing really that I was apprehensive about not having. But the one thing that we didn't get was a nightlight. I cannot believe that we didn't get a nightlight, and let me show you the one that we ended up getting. It's actually just this one. So this is just a little plug-in nightlight. You just obviously plug it into the wall and it lights up when it's dark. Cannot believe I didn't have this. Obviously for night feeds and stuff, you don't want to be turning on the lamp and stuff. So I have this in my room, and then also in George's room next door, because his like bottles, we make his bottles and change his nappy and everything in that room, and then we'll come back in to feed him in here. Basically it's the worst thing ever when you're like sleepy. You don't want to be turning on a light and then that properly wakes you up, and it also wakes him up, like properly wakes him up, if that makes sense. So he obviously has to be awake to eat, but then he can go settle back down really easily if he doesn't get all like the light shining in his eyes and stuff. And if you have the lamp on, then your night vision's this baby, honestly, then your night vision's also going to be crap. So yeah, definitely some night lights. I'll link them down below. perfect. Do not forget Nightlights, guys. This one's a really good question. So what is the best and the hardest part about being a first time mum? So I would say the best part is, he's just adorable. It's insane. I cannot believe how much I love this little tiny person. It's amazing. That love that you feel for them is insane. But also I would probably say that's the hardest part as well, being selfless. Although it's weird because that's the best part and the hardest part. It's so different because, let's face it, I'm a young mum. Other than Molly and Ash, I haven't had to look after anyone really ever, other than myself, and to adjust to literally being responsible for an entire human being is quite immense, but it's also incredible. So yeah, I would say that's my favourite part and my scary part, I would say, about being a first time mum. But I feel like we're adjusting really well to it, and I wouldn't have it any other way, obviously. I've also got a few questions about whether I ever wanted to breastfeed, and I have to say, during my entire pregnancy I didn't really feel like I wanted to breastfeed. Never really had that urge. I didn't want to, and I didn't not want to. I kind of was just like, well, I would prefer to bottle feed. Just probably my actual nature is to be like a bit of a control freak, and I can control exactly how much he's having, when he's having it. We can get into a nice little routine fairly quickly, which is what we've managed to do, luckily. So that's kind of why I wanted to bottle feed. But I have to say, in the first week, especially when the milk comes in and your breasts go a bit huge and a bit engorged, and all you want to do is basically breastfeed your baby. It's a really weird, like, hormonal thing. I did want to, but I didn't, and my boobs have gone down now, and I think my milk's pretty much gone, so I'm glad I didn't. But there was this weird, like, hormonal instinct that made me want to breastfeed, and I think breastfeeding is amazing. I just think for me personally, it wasn't the route I wanted to go down, and I'm really happy with my choice. I know there's a lot of judgment around not breastfeeding, but there's also a lot of judgment about breastfeeding, so it's like you can never win whatever you choose. But let's face it, fed is best. Like, just feed your baby and they're going to be content and happy no matter what. So as long as they're healthy, honestly, who cares? So I've got a few questions on here about postpartum recovery, and I can show you guys a few things that I bought, if you like, to help me with my recovery and things like that. But I would definitely say maternity pads, something to, it can be like a jug of warm water, or it can be like an actual peri bottle that you squeeze warm water onto yourself with. Something like that for your first wee is like essential. And witch hazel pads were amazing, and also I used the spray that basically numbs that area. Adult nappies, I used the boutique ones. Always Boutique, I think they're called, and the ones that I had you can wear with like leggings and you can't see them, like they're not really bulky and massive, if that makes sense. Like you can wear leggings and you won't know that you're wearing a nappy. This is such a good question. So like me, you were always so organised and prepared. Now a baby is here, does that all feel so irrelevant? Oh my god, yes. Like, I've just said this in this video, I feel like I am a massive control freak normally, but you cannot be like that when you've got a baby. So yes, of course I want to be as prepared and as ready as possible, but once he's here, like, as long, you know what, like, it makes it easier when you've got like things in the right place and you know where things are. Like, I know where things are, like the nappies are, I know where the wipes are, I've always got some in every single room. But like the mess, I don't care. Like, you should see like behind the camera right now, mess. Tidied up behind me, didn't tidy up behind there. No, doesn't matter. You've got the most important job in the planet, is looking after your baby. Who cares about the housework? Who cares about the fact that things aren't as organised as you would normally like them? Like, it really doesn't matter. Sometimes things are way more important than being organised. I never thought I'd say something like that. Another question is, how have you been managing the lack of sleep? It's one of the things I'm really nervous about. I was really nervous about it as well because I really love my sleep. However, he's been really good, and I hate saying that because I know that not everyone is that lucky, and people do really suffer with a lot of sleep deprivation, but we've been really lucky. One, because Ash has only just gone back to work. He had like the first 3 weeks off, 3 weeks of George's life off work, so we had time to like share the load really evenly. But yeah, in the night he's really good. He only kind of gets up once, so he gets up, like I said, we have his last feed at 11 o'clock, and then 3 a.m. he'll get up, and then he'll get up at 7 a.m. as well, and that's generally like morning time, isn't it? So he tends to get up just once in the night. We've had bad nights, don't get me wrong, but I can manage that because I'm not doing the late feed. I'm only doing the 3 o'clock feed and the 7 o'clock feed, so actually I tend to get an alright amount of sleep. Don't get me wrong, like sometimes I'm having naps and stuff in the day, but you kind of just take it as it comes, and not put too much pressure on yourself to get so much else done. I like to get things done, I like to do the washing, I like to tidy up and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, don't put too much pressure on yourself, and you'll muddle through it, I think. Got another question about what bottles and what steriliser I use. So the bottles that we use are the Man bottles. I'll link them down below if you guys like. They are anti-colic bottles, and oh my god, I really like we've never used any others, so I have nothing to compare it to, but I have absolutely loved these bottles, and George obviously loves them as well, so I would definitely recommend them. I would link them down below. And also the steriliser that we use is actually just a Tommy Tippy cold water steriliser, or it's a microwavable steriliser, but we use the sterilising tablets, the Milton sterilising tablets in them. Again, I'll link the tablets and the steriliser down below. I find that a cold water steriliser is so much easier than like a fangled like plug-in steriliser and all that crap. I just didn't want something on the side all the time, to be honest. And you can carry that up and down the stairs wherever you need the bottles. Basically, you have the sterilising tablet and the water, and that will just sterilise everything in there. As long as the bottles are in that solution, they are sterilised, and the water stays like active for 24 hours. So yeah, that's pretty much the process that we're using. But the Man bottles are also self-sterilising, so you can put them in the microwave with a little bit of water in them, and they'll sterilise that way. And you can also use these microwavable sterilising bags that we have as well. So we've got a few different options, but the cold water steriliser is definitely the easiest I've found. Next question is, was George your first choice of name? And the answer is yes. Hello. Baby. Oh, darling. You waking up? George was our first choice of name, 100%. So it was definitely my first choice of name, and Ash agreed to it, so I'm very lucky. George is my granddad's name, like I said before, so I really wanted this to be his name, and I'm really glad it is. Next question was, how much did baby George weigh at birth? And he was 6 pounds and 6 ounces. I think that is absolutely everything, guys. So they're the most common questions that I was asked on Instagram. I will be doing a few more videos, like I said, maybe a hospital bag video as to what I actually used for my hospital bag, and also a newborn's essential video, or like my top 10 or whatever, something like that. And I'm also really excited that I'm going to be getting a new pram, so I'll be doing like an unboxing and review of that as well, which I'm really excited about because it's so much better than the one that I've got already. The one that I've got is really good, but because I got it second hand, it's a bit used, and the car seat doesn't go onto the chassis very well, and if I was ever in a rush and I was like fiddling around with that, it would just really get on my nerves. Annoyingly, I didn't try that before I bought it, but you live and learn, don't you? So yeah. Anyway, I think I'm gonna love you and leave you guys because he's about to wake up for his 3 o'clock feed, aren't you, baby? So yeah, I love you lots, guys. I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.